Om Namo Bhagavate Shivanandaya. Today we discuss mind power and how it can be applied for our health and peace during the pandemic. The following is an outline of the various aspects of mind power that we will address. Swami Shivananda has written, and I quote, "Thought culture is a vital subject. Very few people know this art or science. Mental health is more important than physical health. If the mind is healthy, the body will necessarily be healthy. Every unholy and disturbing thought that enters your brain has a depressing effect on every cell of your body and tends to produce disease." Unquote. For the last 20 months, the planet has been plunged into an ocean of fear, uncertainty, suffering, death, and grief. However, the eternal threat to good health is neither virus nor lockdown. Almost every one of us, irrespective of the prevailing lockdown level, has been locked in by fear. Fear of contracting the virus, fear of death, fear of losing loved ones, fear of financial hardships, fear of not accessing the vaccine, fear of developing side effects to the vaccine. Indeed, this is probably more an epidemic of fear, stress, and anxiety than of the coronavirus itself. This presentation is a reminder of how Gurudev's simple and practical teachings on leading a divine life can be applied to counteract pandemic stress and fear. Human tragedy can be transformed into spiritual triumph. Today, we will focus on the role of the mind and our thoughts in navigating through the pandemic. You will hear how the mind, its thoughts and emotions can be your ally or adversary. History repeats itself, and mind power is at the heart of the epic battle scene that took place in the Dwapar Yuga. The Pandavas and Kauravas are ready to go into battle in Kurukshetra. Arjuna is morally conflicted about engaging in battle with his kin and becomes emotionally despondent, leading to a reluctance to engage in action. Krishna then engages in a discourse with him using the principles similar to modern-day psychological therapies. He provides him with information to dispel the incorrect beliefs that Arjuna harbors that are leading to his emotional distress and influencing his reluctance to act. This, in modern-day language, is referred to as cognitive behavioral therapy, whose theory recognizes the role of how thought patterns exert a direct influence on our emotional state, and emotions in turn drive our behaviors and actions. In order to improve one's emotional health or behaviors, one therefore needs to examine and, where necessary, reprogram our thought patterns to reduce stress and dysfunction and promote inner well-being and healthy lifestyles. Thus, merely by correcting Arjuna's misperceptions of his human roles and reminding him of his spiritual duties and swadharma, Arjuna's emotional distress was relieved, and he was able to act dharmically. For this, he earned the Lord's blessings. Lord Krishna not only steered his chariot, but also his mind. We navigate the outer world based on the programs running in our minds, our thoughts and beliefs and emotions. Importantly, when we are anxious, stressed, or distressed, our thoughts become distorted in many ways. For example, problems appear magnified. We focus selectively on information that feed our belief system, such as conspiracy theories. We underestimate our own abilities to cope and begin to feel as if we are helpless victims. The discourse of the Bhagavad Gita is therefore a simple yet powerful illustration of the role of the belief system and thoughts on guiding us through emotional storms to decide on the spiritually correct course of behavior and action during day-to-day life, but especially currently when we are experiencing a global germ warfare that is, in essence, a spiritual watershed moment in the Kali Yuga, as much an inner battle as a global crisis. Let us hear what Swami Shivananda has listed as functions of thought power as each has relevance to our experience with the pandemic. Thoughts promote radiant health. Thoughts develop personality. A sublime thought elevates the mind and expands the heart. Thoughts affect the body. Every thought or emotion or word produces a strong vibration in every cell of the body and leaves a strong impression there. Thought power changes destiny. Man sows a thought and reaps an action. Man has made his own destiny by his own thinking and acting. He can change his destiny. Thoughts cause physiological disorders. Every change in thought makes a vibration in your mental body and causes many electrical and chemical changes in the brain. Every cell in the body suffers or grows, receives a life impulse or a death impulse from every thought that enters the mind, for you tend to grow into the image of that which you think about most. Thought power creates environments. It is not true that man is the result of his environmental forces. Do not grumble of bad environments. Create your own mental world and environments. What is the role of the mind in our physical health? Swami Shivananda writes, thought culture is an exact science. Thought is the most powerful weapon in the armor of a yogi. Constructive thought transforms, renews, and builds. Every impulse of the mind, every thought is conveyed to the cells. If there are confusion, depression, and other negative emotions and thoughts in the mind, they are telegraphically transmitted through the nerves to every cell in the body. The soldier cells or immune cells become panic-stricken. They are weakened. They are not able to perform their function properly, and they become inefficient. Just as negative thoughts can adversely affect bodily functions, so too positive thoughts can exert a salutary effect on the body. Swami Shivananda described these as psychophysical imbalances. Current medical science refers to the relationship between brain activity, that is, our thoughts and emotions, on the body's immune system, as the field of psychoneuroimmunology. The following is not a rare or isolated miraculous case, but simply one of a growing number of published cases illustrating the power of the mind and beliefs in activating your body's inherent, inbuilt, natural healing mechanisms. In 1956, Mr. Wright developed lymphosarcoma, and the tumors in his body had grown to the size of oranges. Doctors did not believe that he had much longer to live. Mr. Wright, however, had heard about an upcoming clinical test of a new experimental drug called cribiosin and pleaded with them to include him in the study. Out of pity, doctors included him in the study, thinking, he will only require one dose, as he will be dead in 3 days. On no other medication, Mr. Wright received a single dose of cribiosin on Friday. 3 days later, his doctors found the previously bedridden, gasping man walking cheerfully around the ward. His tumors melted like snowballs on a hot stove, and after completing the course of treatment within 10 days, all signs of his cancer had vanished and he returned to flying his aeroplane. A few months later, conflicting news reports of the effectiveness of cribiosin started to reach Mr. Wright. His confidence in the drug began to falter, and soon all his symptoms returned. Near death, his physician informed him that a new, improved, double-strength formula of cribiosin had been developed and that Mr. Wright had been selected to prove its efficacy. Within days of receiving the new formula, Mr. Wright's symptoms of cancer once again disappeared. Within 2 months, press announcements declared that scientific trials had concluded that cribiosin was indeed a worthless drug. Within a day, Mr. Wright relapsed. He died 2 days later. The so-called new, improved double-strength formula that he had received as a second course, to which he also responded, was actually pure water. How was it possible for Mr. Wright to be cured by a drug that was scientifically ineffective? In scientific trials of new medication, 20 to 75% of patients, believing they are receiving the medicinal drug, will show improvement even though they are receiving an inactive substance. Modern medicine refers to this as the placebo response. Water injections or tablets made of ordinary sugar are able to produce relief from medical symptoms or cures from diseases. There is also the nocebo response. Inactive substances can produce side effects or unpleasant symptoms if the patient expects to experience them. Any new medical drug is only approved if scientific trials prove that it produces an effect greater than that of an inert substance or placebo. What relevance has this to the COVID-19 pandemic? Firstly, having fearful thoughts will translate into the army of your immune cells in your body being paralyzed by fear, rendering you at greater risk even if your exposure is minimal. Secondly, taking the vaccine and not believing in its effect will indeed reduce its effectiveness. Thirdly, fear and anticipating side effects based on what you read, heard, or saw are likely to increase your likelihood of experiencing those very side effects. Swami Shivananda says, the body follows the mind. Thought gives health. If you entertain healthy thoughts, you can keep good health. If you hold on to sickly thoughts in the mind, you can never expect good health, beauty, and harmony. The role of our emotions or feelings on our health. The COVID pandemic has created much emotional and mental distress. People, whether infected or not, have been suffering from fear, anxiety, depression, and grief. There are many who are angered and agitated by the lockdown restrictions and its effects on their personal and professional lives. They engage in endless criticism and are impatient for the pandemic to end, to receive their vaccines, and to resume their pre-pandemic lifestyles. Swami Shivananda writes that violent fits of hot temper do serious damage to the brain cells, throw poisonous chemical products into the blood, produce general shock and depression, and drain away your energy, vitality, induce premature old age, and shorten life. When you are angry, the mind becomes disturbed. Similarly, when the mind is disturbed, the body also becomes disturbed. And Swami Shivananda has written an apt parable of the people who died of fear. A traveler in the Middle East met a curious fellow. "Who are you?" he said, "and where are you going?" "I am cholera. I am going to kill 5,000 people in Egypt," said the other, and resumed his journey. A few years later, they again happened to meet again. The former asked the latter, "You had given me words to kill only 5,000 people, but you have killed 50,000 instead." "No, no," retorted Cholera, "I have killed only 5,000 people. The rest died of fear." Fear is a great human curse, your worst enemy, but a calm mind brings courage. Fearlessness is a divine quality. Here are some practical ways to master the mind for peace and health during the pandemic. Swami Shivananda states that sadhana and santosh are the secrets of health. These practical measures will help to both stop the mind running riot and compromise our health during the pandemic, as well as give us simple measures which are within our capability to strengthen our minds and bodies. Firstly, diet of the mind. Swami Shivananda writes, just as you take physical exercises, play games such as tennis and cricket in order to maintain physical health, you will have to maintain mental health by radiating the right thought waves, by taking sattvic food, mental recreation of an innocent and harmless nature, relaxation of mind by entertaining good, ennobling, and sublime thoughts, and by cultivating the habit of cheerfulness. Diet is not only that which goes through our mouths, but also everything we consume through our senses and minds. Be discerning in the information and the people you associate yourself with. A disturbing piece of information can be as harmful as the virus itself. More words of wisdom from Swami Shivananda. Thought is very contagious, nay, more contagious than the Spanish flu. Do not waste the time and energy by entering into hot discussions, lingual warfare, and intellectual gymnastics. The following anecdote is worth remembering. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, lies, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Secondly, we can purify the mind. Just as the body excretes waste products daily in order to maintain health, so too cleansing ourselves of toxic thoughts and emotions must be regularly practiced. Swami Shivananda asks us to purify and control the itching mind by uninterrupted, undaunted, and regular practice of sadhana, meditation, devotion, selfless works, by wisdom, deliberation, light sattvic diet, japa, study of the Gita, satsang, and asanas. Thirdly, we can conduct prayer and satsang. Swami Shivananda advises us that the best medicine or panacea for all diseases and for keeping good health is kirtan, japa, and regular meditation. The divine waves electrify, rejuvenate, vivify, energize the cells, tissues, and nerves. During this time of great need, sending out loving thoughts and prayers are powerful acts of charity too, and they can be done within the restrictions of lockdown. Swami Shivananda writes that a good thought is thrice blessed. First, it benefits the thinker by improving his mental body. Secondly, it benefits the person about whom it is entertained. Lastly, it benefits all mankind by improving the general mental atmosphere. Conversely, an evil thought is thrice cursed. First, it harms the thinker by doing injury to his mental body. Secondly, it harms the person who is its sub-object. Lastly, it harms all mankind by vitiating the whole mental atmosphere. Fourthly, we can practice meditation. Swami Shivananda writes, "Keep a calm and healthy mind always. Thought is a great force. It has got tremendous power. It becomes a matter of great moment to know how to use this power in the highest possible way and to the greatest possible effect. This can best be done by the practice of meditation." The powerful mental and physical health benefits of meditation have been confirmed in the medical scientific literature and is a practice endorsed by Harvard Medical School, one of the foremost medical institutions in the world. Hundreds of scientific studies confirm the benefits of meditation for both bodily and mental health, as well as for physical and mental well-being. For those who may find meditation difficult, the following steps are helpful in disciplining the mind. Keep the mind occupied. Swami Shivananda warns that an idle brain is the devil's workshop. Watch the mind every minute. Do not try to drive away the unimportant and irrelevant thoughts. Instead, fill the mind with divine thoughts. Keep the mind fully occupied. The best medicine or panacea for all diseases and for keeping good health is the entertaining of divine thoughts. Concentrate. The rays of the mind are scattered in the case of the worldly minded persons. There is dissipation of mental energy in various directions. Cultivate attention. You will have good concentration. Keep the mind serene. Be cheerful always. Then alone can you concentrate. Be regular in your concentration by sitting in the same place at the same time at 4 a.m. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a Western adaptation of meditation, and it is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. Swami Shivananda advises us Do not think of the past nor plan for the future. Live in the present. Most prominent and most distressing symptoms of the coronavirus infection have been respiratory distress or breathing difficulties, necessitating support with oxygen and ventilators. It is noteworthy that stress and anxiety also manifest with breathing difficulties. We see here again the interconnectedness with our mental body and the physical body. Breathing correctly, artfully, and according to the scientific principles of yoga are simple yet invaluable practices for both physical and mental well-being during the pandemic. So the fifth technique is the practice of pranayama, which is a system of techniques used to harness and manipulate universal energy known as prana. Swami Shivananda writes, and I quote, "Prana is the sum total of all the energy that is manifested in the universe. By exercising control over the gross breath, you can control the subtle prana inside. Control of prana means control of the mind. It is the subtle prana that is connected with the mind. Breath is a vitalizing, regenerating force and can be utilized consciously for one's development, for healing incurable diseases, and for many other useful purposes. If you know how to control the little waves of prana that operate through the mind, then the secret of controlling the universal prana will also be known to you. Through control of the breath, you can efficiently control all the various functions of the body and develop the mind and soul." Unquote. The next technique is Prathipakshana Bhavana. Swami Shivananda writes that positive always overpowers negative. This is the natural law. If you entertain new, sublime thoughts, old, vicious thoughts will subside by themselves. Take this Prathipakshana Bhavana, which is meditating on the opposite method. In the precious Brahma Muhurta, meditate on a virtuous quality. Feel day by day that you are possessing that virtue. Gradually, that virtue will be developed. The vice will be destroyed, and you will notice a marvelous change. Your mind will be at ease. Scientific studies show that optimists live longer than pessimists, and that a positive attitude can have a greater effect on your longevity than blood pressure, cholesterol levels, smoking, body weight, or level of exercise. Lockdown may have taken away several of our freedoms, but Holocaust concentration camp survivor and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl states from his personal experience, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in every given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Related to Prathipakshana Bhavana are affirmations and autosuggestions. Just as repeated, regular, consistent workouts in the gym will help you develop muscles, so too moral and spiritual muscle can be grown by affirming the desired positive in your life. To ensure that your beliefs and thoughts have a positive impact on your life, affirmations can be used. Affirmations are merely positive statements that can help you to challenge and overcome self-sabotaging and negative thoughts by regular repetition. In his pioneering book, Scientific Healing Affirmations, Paramahansa Yogananda wrote, "Sincere words or affirmations repeated understandingly, feelingly, and willingly are sure to move the omnipresent cosmic vibratory force to render aid in your difficulty. Appeal to that power with infinite confidence. Impregnate your affirmations with devotion, will, and faith, intensely and repeatedly, unmindful of the results, which will come naturally as the fruits of your labors." Paramahansa Ji provides the following affirmation instructions. Select an affirmation. It is most effective to practice affirmations immediately after awakening in the morning or just before going to sleep at night. Sit in the correct meditation posture. The spine should be held erect and the eyes closed. Repeat the affirmation first loudly, then softly. and more slowly, until your voice becomes a whisper. Then gradually affirm it mentally, only until you feel that you have attained deep, unbroken concentration. As you experience an increasing pace, make the peace, make the effort to deepen your concentration, that you may enter into the superconscious realm and manifest your affirmations. We need to reprogram our minds around death and dying. The pandemic has given rise to much grief as well as thoughts and fear of death. We are reminded that our real nature is spiritual and eternal. Death is the only certainty after we take human birth. But by carefully choosing our thoughts, we can influence our destiny. Swami Shivananda writes, "The last thought determines the next birth. Whatever thought you entertain at the last breath, accordingly you take your next birth. This thought entirely depends upon the constant desires and ideas you entertained throughout your whole life. For immortality and eternal bliss, you must have a well-regulated, perfectly disciplined, correctly molded, well-controlled, and pure devoted mind." Mark here the importance of sadhana, particularly the control of mind, which is the central purpose of sadhana. While a higher perspective on death is important, it is not implied that we are to deny the human need to grieve emotionally. All the necessary measures need to be taken to facilitate healing emotionally from your loss. Remember that excessive attachment to both the people and the possessions in our human lives are a recipe for suffering. Grief is the process of healing, not a place to reside in, but a place to pass through. And finally, we need to practice faith and self-surrender. This pandemic is indeed a huge test of our faith. Faith and self-surrender are the spiritual boats that will help us reach the post-pandemic shore. Let us joyfully surrender every thought of my mind, every emotion of my heart, every feeling and every sensation. All is yours, yours absolutely, yours without any reserve. Whatever comes to me from you will lead me to your lotus feet. Swami Shivananda assures us that immortality is our birthright. You are the center of thought, influence, and power. Try your best to keep cool and calm in difficulties, adversities, and trying conditions of life. Pray fervently from the bottom of your heart and wait. Help is bound to come. Given the nature and prevalence of the infection, many of us will contract the virus. Rather than reacting with fear, alarm, depression, and catastrophizing, you have the power to consciously choose your response and thereby influence the experience and the outcome. If you have tested positive, examine your beliefs and fears and rid the mind of negativity and pessimism. Adopt a positive attitude. The recovery rate for COVID is in the upper 90%. The odds are therefore in your favor. Reduce exposure to negative people and alarmist news, both on print and on social media. Follow all the pandemic rules regarding physical distancing, sanitizing, and the wearing of the mask. Seek medical assistance and comply with all medical treatment. Turn adversity to advantage. Reframe the experience positively. Rather than being cause for mental breakdown, it can be an opportunity for a spiritual breakthrough. Regard quarantine as a spiritual retreat. You have reduced or no household duties, leaving you with more time for sadhana. Increase your spiritual practices. Follow the dietary rules given by our saints. Remember, accept this as His grace. Practice pranayama and send healing thoughts to the body. Know that even this shall pass. And finally, affirm. Through the grace of Gurudev, I am getting better and better every day in every way. In light of the protests in our country over the last week, it would be remiss not to address the impact and implications for our health and safety. When there is a threat to our safety and security, the body's survival instincts kick in reflexly. The strong surge of emotion can fuel automatic behavior. It is therefore important for us to remain calm and reflect on our thoughts before we speak or act. Thought power can be as destructive as it can be healing and restorative. None of us is here in this place, in this moment in time, by chance or by accident. These are soul choices. This is our collective karma, and our responses will either free or further shackle us karmically. We have the power of choice. We can choose to heal or to hurt. Prayerful and peaceful thoughts of love, forgiveness, compassion, non-judgment, generosity, and kindness will generate the grace needed to heal and unite us into human and spiritual prosperity. Do not curse the darkness, light a candle. As a man thinketh, so he becometh, is one of the greatest laws of nature. The mind can be your best friend or worst enemy. More importantly, it can be reprogrammed from making you its helpless and unhealthy slave, or you can gain mastery over it and thereby master your destiny. Every human hardship has within it a pearl of spiritual wisdom and opportunity for spiritual growth, be they pandemics or protests. Within the eternally relevant prescripts of divine life are contained the vaccines for every human problem. Swami Shivananda writes, "This world is a great school. It is for thy education. Remember the goal and the purpose for which you have taken this physical body. Do not give indulgence or leniency to the mind. Watch the thoughts. Drive them. Man is the master of his own destiny. All faculties, energies, and powers are latent in you. Unfold them and become free and great. If you want to live long and lead a sensible and healthy life, cherish pure, noble thoughts." Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Namo Bhagavate Shivanandaya. Hari Om. Our topic today is on the glory of Agnihotra, the fires of heaven. Agnihotra originated from the ancient Vedic science of Ayurveda. The Sanskrit mantras, when chanted, have a special sound combination with vibrational effect that generate healing powers. The mantras, together with the fire prepared with specific organic substances, timed to the sunrise and sunset biorhythm, make positive changes in the atmosphere. The Vedas describe Agnihotra as a process of fumigation. Through the grace of our Divine Master, Sri Swami Shivananda, and our spiritual head, Pujya Swami Sahajananda, we in the Divine Life Society of South Africa have been performing Agnihotra for approximately 30 years. Performance of Agnihotra has benefits for one's health, nervous system, and the environment. The ash is used in the preparation of medicines to treat some ailments. Case studies attest to the uses of Agnihotra ash for various purposes. For example, the treatment of burns and cuts, inducing sound sleep, calming hyperactive children, restoring bodily energy, skin problems, farming, agriculture, and for rain. In several European countries, in America and Asia, folk medicines are prepared from Agnihotra ash. This is called Homa therapy. Healing energy is thrust into the atmosphere by the rising flames and smoke. Agnihotra, if practiced regularly, yields great healing power for the atmosphere, as well as to the individual performing it. This is the glory of Agnihotra, the fires of heaven. Ayurveda always recommended the holistic approach for the prevention of diseases and curing of ailments. In ancient times, people used natural resources to fight bacteria and pollution. Therefore, The ancient sterilization method of Agnihotra and Homa should be adopted in this pandemic for the possible prevention and control of COVID-19. It also enhances one's immune system through the free flow of pure cosmic energy or prana. The exact timing to perform Agnihotra at sunrise and sunset is of vital importance. Timesheets can be obtained from the internet, as well as the Divine Life Society of South Africa's website for local times. Our website address is www.shivananda.dls.org.za. If one misses the timing, then it is not Agnihotra. To perform Agnihotra, a fire is prepared in a small copper pyramid of specific size and shape. Tremendous amounts of energy are gathered around the Agnihotra copper pyramid at the precise Agnihotra time, creating a magnetic type field that neutralizes negative energies and reinforces positive energies. The three main ingredients used in performance of Agnihotra are dry cow dung cakes, which contain 24 minerals and a diverse group of microorganisms with great power of protection from atomic radiation. Pure butter ghee or clarified butter. When ghee is offered onto the ignited cow dung in the fire, the fumes that emanate help to protect the respiratory system and facilitate the removal of bacterial infections in the nasal passages, lungs, and veins. Paddy rice. Uncooked, unpolished, whole grain brown rice or paddy rice has mineral nutrients. The two special mantras, with 2 parts each, that are chanted during offerings are, at sunrise, Om Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idam Namama. Om Prajapateya Swaha, Prajapateya Idam Namama. At sunset, Om Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Namama. Om Prajapateya Swaha, Prajapateya Idam Namama. We will now chant the 2 mantras so that we are familiar with and in tune with the intonation and pronunciation.
Om Suryaye Swaha, Suryaye Idam Namama. Om Prajapateye Swaha, Prajapateye Idam Namama. Om Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Namama. Om Prajapateye Swaha, Prajapateye Idam Namama. Om Suryaye Swaha, Suryaye Idam Namama. Om Prajapateye Swaha, Prajapateye Idam Namama. Om Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Namama. Om Prajapateye Swaha, Prajapateye Idam Namama.
Since time immemorial, smoke emanating from Agnihotra helps to clear the respiratory systems of people who inhale the fumes, thus enhancing one's immunity. The various health benefits that result from performing Agnihotra Yajna can be attributed to the medicinal smoke and the free flow of pure cosmic energy or prana. The resulting Agnihotra ash can be consumed by diluting it in water or can be applied on the skin. This is useful in the case of a viral infection. It can be reasonably concluded that with sincere faith and prayer, the performance of Agnihotra and the use of Agnihotra ash will help to fight the coronavirus infection by healing the atmosphere where it is performed and the individual. Details on the performance of Agnihotra and its benefits are available in our Divine Life Society of South Africa publications. The copper Agnihotra Kund or pyramid and cowdung cakes are available on sale at our Shivananda Ghat. Agnihotra pamphlets are also available at the Ghat. Further information on Agnihotra is available on the Divine Life Society of South Africa website. The address is www.shivananda.dls.org.za. We strongly urge all to begin the ancient practice of Agnihotra, the fires of heaven, daily to heal oneself and the universe. We wish all good health, peace, and prosperity. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om, dear camp participants. Thank you for tuning into our Yoga Camp online lessons. Please note that satsang will commence at 11 a.m. and a WhatsApp link will be sent to you shortly. Om.